Hello and welcome to this video on how to use the 247 time system. Here we're going to show you how to use the system in respect of interserve, and this is the full training video for agency users. What we'll show you in this video is how to log in, how to change your password, how to manage candidates and add a new candidate into the system. We'll show you then how to find jobs and assign a candidate to a job role, and then look at weekly activity in terms of timesheets, and then how you can find out about your trading status. And then we'll look at common problems and cures. And you can see there from the virtual circle, it starts off that interserve actually requires a worker from you. As an agency, then you'll go in and add that information into the system by creating a candidate if you haven't already done so, and then assigning a candidate to a job role. The candidate then goes and works away on site. It's having worked away then on site, it's the following week that the activity takes place in terms of you adding information into the timesheet, and then the interserve approvers go on and approve that information, and then as a result of doing that, we consolidate that information, and then payments are made to you, the agency direct, and we start again with another cycle. Just a couple of words on information governance. You're not allowed to share your usernames and passwords. They are unique to you and therefore must be for your own use and your own use purposes only. Where required, you should have already obtained permission to share candidates' information, and there are occasions when certain clients will require you to upload the necessary document into the candidate profile. In this case, interserve don't require at present any documents into the candidate profile. If you download data from 247 time, it's important that you do keep that information safe and secure. And we all hear stories of where a memory stick or a CD has been left on a bus and a train, and it's important therefore that you must keep that information where you've downloaded very safe. We comply with the Information Commissioner's Office Data Protection Act, and we do police that all agency users do so as well. And just a final reassurance from us that we do not sell or trade your information. It is a means of getting information from the candidate and yourselves to interserve and back. Okay, so let's show you how you log in to the system. So you log in at time2.247time.co.uk, and you can log in on any device that's connected to the internet. And we have people logging in on iPhones, Androids, tablets, iPads, as well as Macs and PCs and laptops. But one thing just to be careful about is making sure that you update your browser with the latest version, as older browsers do have compatibility issues as time goes on. If you need to get hold of us, we have a support function at 247 time, but we do ask in the first instance that you email us at support247time.co.uk, and the reason for that is we operate a ticket-based system, and what you'll get is when you email us is a ticket back that says here is your ticket number, and if you do need to get hold of us by telephone, you can call us on that 0333 number. It is a local rate number, but we will invariably ask you for the ticket number. And the reason for operating a ticket-based system is it's quicker for you and it's quicker for us. If your query is something that we've resolved many times before, we'll send you back a snippet that says, here you go, this is what you need to do to cure that particular problem. So logging into the system, it's a question of logging in by usernames and passwords, which you enter in here. If you haven't got a username and password, you can email at the end of this webinar to the support sign, and we can then get that password issued to you. You'll find that anything in blue is where you connect and enter information or click to retrieve it. So forgotten usernames and forgotten passwords, do exactly as they say on the tin. So you click login, and login will bring you through to our dashboard. Now the dashboard is our means of communicating information that we think is important for you to see, and you can click on any of the items by just clicking on the blue subject line. You can see this top black navigation bar, and if you think of these as the drawers in a filing cabinet, this is where you're going to go to store information or click to retrieve it. But the first thing we'll normally ask you is, having accepted our terms and conditions on login for the first time, is to go in and change your password to something that's more memorable to you. The way you can do that, and you can do this anytime, is by just clicking on settings. And by clicking on settings, it brings you through to the password change screen. So you enter the password that we've given you plus the password that you want to use on a couple of times, and then just click on modify, and that then becomes your password from there on in. So now let's go in and have a look at candidates. The way you do that is click on candidates on the left hand side here. And what you'll be presented with is normally just screen A, and I've taken the liberty of snapping two screens in one here. But basically you're seeing screen A, and if you want to go and search for a candidate, say for example Fred Bloggs, you'll type in Fred Bloggs here, click on search, and up will come all your Fred Bloggs as in screen B. Equally, you could just type in Fred, and up will come Freds, or blogs, and up will come all your blogs. But if you leave it blank and then click on search, what you'll see is screen B, which is all your candidates, normally in alphabetical order, and you can change any of these columns orders by just clicking on the column, and it'll sort it into any order that you so wish. And if you want to go and change a candidate, you just click on the blue, up comes the candidate profile, and you can go and amend any information as required. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter a new candidate. You can see down here in the bottom right hand side here, you've got that export to Excel feature, and that's what I explained earlier, that you can download to your device a CSV file that you can use in any third-party application or manipulate as you wish. And in this case, if by clicking on that, it will download to your device a CSV file that contains all the information regarding your candidates, and it is dynamic, so it will change depending on what it is you're looking at that particular moment in time. But what I'm going to do is register a new candidate by just clicking on the register candidate icon. And here we're now presented with the register candidate screen. As you can see, it's very simple. I'm no doubt very confident that it's similar to what you may see in other HR systems. So it's the NI number, then you'll see your agency name, and then it's just a question of completing the candidate information as required. It is important that you do fill that in full, because basically some clients will want you to have all of that information for validation purposes. And interserve currently don't require any other documents or qualifications to be uploaded on the candidate profile, so it's a question then of just clicking on save, and that's it, as simple as it is to enter a candidate into the system. And normally you'll only ever need to enter a candidate information once, and that's it. So let's go in and have a look at jobs, and you do that by clicking on the jobs on the top black navigation bar. And now that brings you to the job entry screen. So you can see here you'll type in your agency name and then type in the job title, and you'll also see the contract number, and you can select this by clicking on the drop down or entering it in by the number and clicking on search. And when you do that, up comes that particular job. So you can see the agency detail here. It shows interserve, it shows you the job grade, and it shows you the cost code as well, and that confirms the job that I'm going to assign this candidate to. So you click on the blue, and it then comes up with a list, and it'll show you then if you've already got a number of candidates already assigned to that particular job at that particular site. In this case we don't have any, so none are shown. There's that to export to Excel function there again, and we're going to assign a new candidate by just clicking on assign new candidate, and up comes a list of your candidates, and you see your candidate and your candidate only. So you can type in Fred Bloggs, click on search, and up will come Fred Bloggs, or you can scroll through all of your candidates here in terms of then finding the right candidate. When you found them, you just click on select. So what you're then presented with is the very final screen. It'll show you your agency name. You select the branch that you're supplying from, and it may be that you're a one branch operation, or you may be part of a multiple chain, in which case you select the branch that your candidate is being supplied from. You'll see the job, national insurance, and the name of the candidate. For AWR purposes, if you've had somebody already working on site, let's say a couple of weeks, then you'll put 2 in there to keep your AWR reporting consistent. The start and end dates basically are quite important as well. You can only have somebody starting in the current week that we're actually in. So our working week is Monday through to Sunday. So the earliest you could have somebody starting a job is the Monday of the week that you're currently in. You can have them starting any time during that week or next month, but you can't have them starting any earlier than the Monday. And that simple reason is that we've already previously consolidated that week's data. I'll show you how we deal with that in a second, where you've had somebody then already working on site. The end date's not so crucial, but just a tip here. If the interserve come to you and say, well, we want this candidate working this week, and we may want them to work in the week after, and maybe a few days after that, what you need to do then is, if you're not 100% sure about the end date, is just leave it blank, and your candidate will remain on the timesheet until either you go in and terminate them off the roll yourself, or nothing happens to that candidate for 6 weeks, in which case the system's intelligent enough to terminate them off. And you click save and close, or click save, and you can add another candidate on to exactly the same role, doing exactly the same position in that particular job. Okay, so if for one reason or another you can't find a job, then all you need to do is email us at support@247time.co.uk, and if the job role's not there, we'll get that created in order then that you can assign that candidate to that job role. So now let's go in and have a look at timesheets. Okay, once a week what we ask you to do is to go in and input the hours that your candidate has worked at that particular site. So for example here, you'll type in or select from the drop downs interserve, you'll select the site where your candidate is working, and then up comes the information about your candidate. And again, you only see your candidates, you don't see anybody else's. So it'll confirm the name of the candidate, it'll show your agency, the job that we're working at, and then what you do is you basically add in the hours that the candidate has worked for each particular day. So if they work 7 hours, you'd put 7 hours in the day box. If it's 7.5 hours, it's 7.5. So you do decimalize each of the hours, and normally 15 minutes is sufficient, but you can decimalize it to the minute if you wish. Then you come across to bonuses and expenses, and where they're accrued, you can add that information in here. Notes is quite an important function within 247 time. If, for example, you want to go in and add some information relevant so that the approver has some information about that candidate for that week's work, you can add that information here into the notes section. And we do train the approvers to go in and have a look at this. And equally the same applies if the approver wants to go and add some information for your notice about this particular candidate on this particular week, they will add information into the notes section also. So what you can do as an agency is you can go in on a weekly basis, click on unapproved, and have a look at any of the timesheets that have been unapproved, and then click on notes, and then basically look at that information and take any remedial action required. And that's quite a useful facility, and I'll show you how that fits in with the timetable in a moment. So the last thing you need to do is just to upload a copy of their timesheet. So this could be your timesheet, it could be a copy of the interserve's timesheet, or it could be a generic timesheet. It could equally be a doc file, a PDF, or a JPEG. Basically, the information we're looking for here is the name of the candidate, the hours that have been worked, that the candidate assigned it, and equally somebody from the site assigned it as well, because the interserve approver may be somebody different than is actually on site. So then all you need to do then is just click on save, and that's it. That's adding the timesheet information into the system. So let's have a look and see how that then works in terms of the timetable? Well, first of all, it starts with the interserve actually requesting a worker from you. You'll go in and add that information into 247 time and go and assign them to the job role. Week 2 is where the candidate then goes and works out on site Monday through to Sunday. It's week 3 where the activity then takes place in terms of the timesheet information. So your deadline as an agency is Tuesday at 11, and we basically require you to have entered the hours that the candidate has worked and uploaded a copy of the timesheet. But just a tip here is always to say to your candidates that you need that information by Monday at 5, in which case then that allows you a little bit of breathing space if for one reason or another they don't get that timesheet to you in enough time. At least then you've got the Tuesday morning to get it through to you. It's after that then that the approvers will then go in and approve those timesheets. So that's where it's useful for you as an agency to go in and have a look at unapproved and just double check that everything's all okay. And interserve will approve those timesheets, and then as a result of that, at 5 p.m. consolidation takes place and then payments are made. So let's have a look now at generating historical timesheets. So that's where, for example, you've had somebody already working on site for let's say a week or two, and you realize that you're not getting paid for it. So you can now go in and create up to 4 weeks historical timesheets yourself. If you need to do any more than that, then just email 247 time at the support email address, and we'll then generate those extra ones for you. But for up to the 4 weeks previous, you can do it yourself. So let's show you how you do that. Well, first and foremost, what you need to do is just click on candidates, select your candidate, and you can see at the bottom is the job roles that they've been assigned to. So you look at the job role, click on the blue, it comes up with the job role. Basically, you can see then click on historical timesheet. So you click on that, and basically you can see here you come up with a week ending date. So our week ending dates are always a Sunday. So enter the Sunday of the weeks that you want an historical timesheet generated for, and you can add it up to 4 Sunday dates on that. Click on add. What the system then does is, as a result of you doing that, is show you a line here in pink. So basically when you go to the timesheets, select the week in question, and then that week then becomes live to you, and you can add the information in as you would have done had it been the current week. So again, it's a question of putting in the hours that they've worked, any notes, upload a copy of the timesheet as agreed, click on save. And then what the approvers will do is not only go in and click any current weeks that the candidate has worked, but also then go in and approve any historical timesheets as well. So the next payment run that's generated, you should see then both payments then come through. The other issue that we tend to find quite not so often these days, but just something that's useful to point out to you, is where the hours are actually wrong. So in this case, what you can then do is just go into the candidate on that particular week and click on adjust hours. So you can see here in this case we had this candidate where no hours were added in. So you click on adjust hours, it puts a line there in yellow for you, and you just add the information in. So in this particular case, no hours were added, and you just added the hours. If the hours were wrong, and you can see there at the bottom, if the candidate hours show that a candidate has worked 10 hours and they should have only really been paid for 8, then you can put -2 in the relevant day box, and it will reduce the hours then paid by 2. Equally, the flip side of that, if they work 12 hours and they're only paid for 10, then you can put 2, and it will add an extra 2 hours in. So that's adjusting timesheets as well. So as a result of then doing that consolidation, you'll basically want to see how your trading then is impacted. So what you can do is click on invoices, and you'll see a line for interserve for every week that you trade with them, and that line contains 2 pieces of information. It contains an invoice file and a data file. Now 247 time is a self-billing system. So you don't email the trust anymore. The system does this for you on your behalf. So when you click invoice, what you'll see is a PDF that's downloaded to your device that shows a net amount, VAT and a gross amount. So you may still have to do work for your own internal back office systems, but when that invoice spits out, you don't fold that up and send it out to interserve anymore. This is your invoice from the trust, and this could be for tens of thousands of pounds. So quite rightly, you're going to understand how is that made up. So the way you do that is you click on the data file, and by clicking on that, it downloads to your device a CSV file that contains enough information for you to shake a stick at. You can pull this upside down, inside out, any way you like. It contains absolutely all information required, enabling you or any financial person to reconcile this to the penny. And because 247 Time is open and transparent system, is once we've done this consolidation, this information is available to you on demand. If 6 months from now you want to go back in and have a look at the information for this week, all you need to do is click on the relevant week and this information is displayed. It's what we see, it's what interserve will see, but a useful thing to do is to just go in after consolidation and just check that it matches your expectations, because otherwise, as we all know, it's a lot easier to cure things when things are fresh in your brain rather than 6 months hence. So on the final straight now, just to show you a couple of things that we tend to find in terms of why an agency may not necessarily be paid for any of the work. So first and foremost, it's important to upload the candidate information into the system. So that is to create the profile and make sure that you add the information required. Otherwise, it can cause delay in payments then generating. Equally, it's assigning a candidate to a job role, and do make sure you assign them to the right job role at the right site. Otherwise, they'll appear on somebody else's timesheet who will ignore them, and the approver who will want to see them on their timesheet won't see them, so hence they won't get paid, or equally you won't get paid for that particular job role. And then most importantly is make sure that you do complete that timesheet with the information required in accordance with the timetable, because we can't change that timetable. It is actually what's happening. So what to do if you've got a query? Well, first and foremost is go in and have a look at the support website and just check yourself in terms of information that is available in there, that anything there can leap out at you and say, well, I haven't done that, and you can take any action that is required. Then follow your journey, the candidate's journey, all the way through the system. So have a look at the candidate's profile, have a look at the job that you've assigned them to, have a look at the timesheet for that particular week, see if there's any information in notes that you need to take any action on, and if failing that, you're still struggling to say, well, I don't understand why this hasn't been paid, then email support, and then what we'll do is we'll intercede on your behalf and basically ascertain what the query is and helpfully get that resolved for you. So that's it from 247 Time. You can see the important links there at the bottom of the screen, and thank you very much for your time today.